and welcome to the Publish Club podcast. I'm your host, Chris Kendall, founder of the Publish Club and managing editor of Surrendered Press. Thank you for joining us as we explore books written by authors that are likely new to you, but could very well become your next favorite. If you're a new or aspiring author and would like to become a member of the Publish Club, please visit thepublishclub.com for author services that can remove some of the heavy lifting in the publishing process off of your plate so that you can focus on the most important parts of writing and getting your book out into the world. And if you're a reader, I hope you'll enjoy listening and learning about this new book and maybe pick up a copy for yourself. So today, my guest is Natalie Griffin. Natalie, please tell us about yourself and a little bit about your book.
Hello, I'm Natalie Griffin. I am born and raised in Oklahoma. I am slightly obsessed with tornadoes. I find them very beautiful and crazy, which is good considering where I live. I have always wanted to be a writer, and my debut novel is actually set in Oklahoma, because write what you know. My genre of choice is historical fiction, and because it's more fun to live in the past than in today's crazy future. So my book is about Ellie, who is in what should have been a deadly car accident. She's a modern girl in a car accident on some slick, icy roads, and she should have died. But instead, she wakes up on the side of the river in 1894, Woodward, Oklahoma. And as she's trying to survive, trying to figure out where she is, trying to deal with a bleeding head wound, not doing so hot, she's wandering down the road. She runs across a 1800s town, and she thinks it's a movie set at first. But it turns out she's actually in 1800s. And to survive, she ends up taking the place of a missing girl who just so happens to be her doppelganger, who looks exactly like her. And she discovers that this girl is meant to be married in less than a month, and not to a very nice guy. And the family refuses to call it off. So she is stuck in a whirlwind of trouble trying to figure out how to get home, how to survive in this strange time. And then, of course, she meets a guy named Sam, and she kind of starts falling for him instead and makes her question if she really wants to go home.
Wow, that's a lot. That's exciting. Okay, so is it considered time travel
Yeah,
romance or?
yeah, it could be considered time travel romance. I categorize it under historical fiction because it's not like a hot, steamy romance type situation, but there is romance in it.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like it kind of revolves around that to some degree. So that's exciting. Okay, cool. What made you pick 1894?
So 1894 in Oklahoma is right after, at least in that part of Oklahoma, it's right after one of the land runs. So Oklahoma didn't become a state until 1907. So they had a land run up in the north, get my directions straight here, in the north western quadrant of Oklahoma in 1893. So setting it up there in 1894 means they had enough time to kind of get going and get some stuff going. A lot of people were still in sod houses, but some people had actual structures. There was a church that was built already that is actually still standing, funny enough. Um, and it seemed like a very new, vibrant, exciting time to set it in.
Yeah, and I don't know if I caught the title of your book. Did you say it yet?
Oh, I don't think I did. That would be a good thing. It is Twins in Time. It took me way too long to come up with a title for that. Not my friend. But yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, if you're up for it, I would love to hear an excerpt from the book if you would like to do a little reading for us.
Yeah, I can do that. I bookmarked something. So
Ooh, perfect,
so
perfect.
this is right after she woke up and she's been wandering down the river trying to figure out what happens. There is a single swear word. Is that okay? Okay, just wanted to make sure before I went with that. All right. I finally came across a road when the sun was high in the sky, an old dusty path with two bare spots for wheels. I figured there was a 50-50 chance one way would lead to the farmer's house, the other would go off to an abandoned shed. The wound in my head had slowed to a trickle, though each step threatened to reopen it. Hopefully it wasn't as bad as I had originally feared. Time seemed to stretch out indefinitely. My footsteps got slower and slower. until I saw buildings in the distance. It was as though someone injected caffeine into my body. Surprising even myself, I ran for them. It was a town, a very tiny one, but the town nonetheless. It didn't even have a Sonic, or power lines, or even streetlights for that matter. I didn't completely realize how much was off until I stood next to the closest building, looking onto Main Street. It was the perfect replica of one of those ghost towns in a TV show, only with plenty of movement. The women bustled around in bulky, multi-layered dresses. Some had on bonnets, some had heavily ornate hats to enhance their fancy look. The men wore long sleeve shirts, high waisted pants, and the classic cowboy hat. And most of them had suspenders on, or vests. Wait, bonnets? Bonnets? There was no possible way they were back in style. I moved into the street, blown away by the perfection of the houses and wagons, all the men hoisting hefty things and the women gossiping in the corners. Whoever put this together was a genius, and I felt bad for interrupting the production. But I needed help, a hospital, preferably. Elizabeth! The sound of my full first name piercing through the air hit me with both hope and apprehension. I whirled toward the voice, coming from what looked like a general store. The tall man rushing my way had brown, tousled hair and was dressed just like the other men, only slightly dirtier. The biggest difference was the stressed out look that reminded me of a parent who was about to navigate their toddler's fifth tantrum of the day. I automatically backed up a few steps. I had never seen this man in my life. Where have you been? Do you have any idea how long I've been looking for you? And what happened to you? And what are you wearing? Why are you dressed like a boy? He paused, eyes narrowing as he fought for the words. Where'd you get those pants? They're way too small. You can hardly move. And is that a sweater? His jaw went slack as he stared at my blood-streaked face. You cut your bangs. Why did you do that? You look like some cheap. He cut himself off, confusion contouring his expression in waves. A lady whispered into her husband's ear, a scandalous expression taking over her pinched face. I glanced down at myself, a low-cut, oversized sweater, now torn to shreds and hardly blue anymore, with all the blood from my forehead. Then my equally as destroyed jeans. For this fantasy land, I could see the outfit being somewhat of an issue. He didn't wait for a reply before he pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around my shoulders. What happened to your head? Where's Rose? He wrapped one arm around me and ushered me toward a beautiful black mare. Something twitched in the back of my head, reminding me that strangers were no good, especially when you got into a car with them, or, in this case, a horse. Apparently, the car accident wasn't enough to teach me that lesson. His solid hold cautioned me against jerking away, but it still somehow felt protective. For the tiniest of moments, I somehow felt like I was completely safe. Why is everyone dressed up? I managed to ask. He shot me a quizzical look. Before I had a chance to react, he hauled me up onto the horse. Instantly, I leapt for the ground. I didn't plan on being kidnapped, especially not on horseback. My landing was horrible, giving him enough time to scoop me under his arm like a football. Come on! He let out a grumble and set me securely on the horse again. This time, he swung up behind me before I could try to escape. His arms stretched on either side of me, effectively caging me in. He moved with the same ease I had when getting into the seat of a car, as if he did it a million times a day. You'd better come up with where you've been. Pa might as well shoot you. Pa? I blurted. Every word he said felt like it hit some kind of brick wall before bouncing off into some confusing swarm of gnats. I don't think. I cut myself off as the perfect set of gallows came into view, placed right next to the even more perfect jail. The confusing gnat swarm started to come together. It finally clicked how wrong the entire situation was. Where the fuck am I? I demanded, unwisely. He yanked the horse to a stop and turned in such a slow fashion I envisioned a vulture narrowing in on his prey. Pardon me? He asked, one eyebrow raised, pure shock written in his blue eyes. You haven't heard a girl curse before? I snapped, the bravery coming out of some hidden part of me. I was sure he could tear me to shreds in an instant, and with the look in his eyes, I was wondering if he would. I need answers. Once again, where am I? He shook his head slowly. Never heard a girl like you curse before. Any girl I've ever heard with that sort of language was wearing a damn sight less than even you right now. I stared at him, shocked into silence. Did he just call me a whore? And you're wrong. I'm the one in need of answers, he added before I could gather myself. I crossed my arms around my middle as I tried to create a comeback. He turned back around, and with a kick and a sort of clicking noise, we started off. I grabbed the back of the saddle before I could fall. There was no way around it. I was going to miss my test.
Wow, that sounds really good. And I actually laughed like 3 times out loud during that, which I don't I mean, I know it's not meant to be like a comedy, but it's funny enough that it's like entertaining. And sometimes, when you read a book, like, it's supposed to be funny and you're like, "Ugh." But this actually, like, those moments were well timed. So great
Oh,
job.
good. Good. That's my goal. So
Yeah,
good.
that's really good. Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. And as a I love Outlander and those kind of time travel, you know, person doesn't know what happened and is suddenly in a new world kind of story. So all
I
right. And is this one book? Do you have a series? Do you have other books?
It's one book for now. I do eventually plan on adding a second one to the series. They'll both work as standalones though, because it'll be the other girl who actually went into the future instead. And
Oh, is this the other person? Was she in an accident with a friend?
the other girl, the one that he in the
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the one
The
that he
twin, the
is,
other twin.
yes. They switch spots essentially. Um,
Oh,
and
that's
I haven't
interesting.
it's on the docket for the future. Right now, I am working on getting out my second historical fiction, which is set in the 1850s. It's completely unrelated to this one, but it wouldn't let me go. So I had to go
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, exciting. Is that like on pre-order yet, or are you just still in the early works?
Almost. I'm working with my editor right now to set up kind of a date on when we think we can get it out. I'm hoping for this fall. I'm hoping over the next couple weeks I can set a for sure it will be out on this date. I've been working on it for 3 years now.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's, I'm excited.
Yes, oh, very exciting. Awesome. All right. Well, we will include links to um let's see, say the name again. Twins in Time?
Twins in Time, yes.
Twins in Time. Yeah. Okay. So we will include links to Twins in Time in the episode notes so that people can find it. Where is it? Is it like on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kindle. I believe you can get it on Kobo, Apple Books, pretty much wherever. So,
Okay, awesome, awesome. Great. Well, it's been so great to meet you, Natalie, and to learn about your book. Thank you so much. Do you have any parting words for us before we say goodbye?
oh, I don't know. Just thank you for taking me on with this and thank you for having me. This has been really good.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, no, I'm excited. The best part about this is hearing about books that I probably wouldn't have found because I don't generally look for time travel, historical stories, but now hearing about it, I'm very excited to check it out. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, for the listeners and viewers out there, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll come back next time when we learn about another book or set of books that might end up being at the top of your to be read list. So until then, keep reading.